All right, so for those of you who listen all the time to WRFG, you have heard probably 100 times now about the series that the Labor Forum is launching in collaboration with the Building and Construction Trades Council. And this is a council of some 19 skilled trade unions. And so on the fourth Monday of every month for the next foreseeable time, we will be featuring representatives, members of one of these construction unions, who will be talking about a variety of things, but mostly about the apprenticeship programs and the job opportunities and skill opportunities that they offer, so that out there, you all in listening land can have an opportunity to perhaps become a skilled construction worker in one of these trades. So seated here in the studio with us are two members of Ibew 613, and that stands for International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. And just as an aside, that's the union my dad belonged to for more than 50 years, and he became a construction electrician following World War II. And it was how our family benefited from that union job that these two brothers will talk about their experiences, my experience. So, seated at the desk is Kenny Mullins. Kenny is the business manager of Local 613, and he just got this job a year and a half or so ago, and so we'll be talking to him. And then seated next to him is Nick Costco, and you are the secretary-treasurer?
Yes, assistant business manager.
Assistant business manager, I got it wrong. And they're both with 613, and they both are skilled electricians. And so we're going to start the program off by welcoming both Kenny and Nick. And we're starting with a question like, all right, so Ibew. Maybe many people in Atlanta only know those letters because they drive by 7585 and they see them atop a building that was across from Turner Field. So, if you wouldn't mind, Kenny, just a little bit about how long there have been union electricians in the United States.
Well, thank you, Diane, for having us today. It's a pleasure to be here, and we're excited to spend some time with you guys for the next few minutes and tell the listeners a little bit about the Ibew in Atlanta. But first, I would be remiss if I didn't thank every armed forces, people who served our country and made it what it is today to give us the security to be here and be free. God bless America, and God bless you and your families, and thank you. So the Ibew was founded in 1891. Henry Miller was our first grand president. That was 2 years before George Westinghouse won the electric current wars by lighting up Chicago's World Fair. So Henry Miller was born in 1853. Henry was born on a ranch in Fredericksburg, Texas. As a young man, he started out his career in the Ibew. Really, at 14 years old, he served as a water boy on a government project where they were building a telegraph line that was being installed from San Antonio, Texas to Fort Clark. It was a 138-mile stretch of Texas where he started out as a water boy. Eventually, he developed into a lineman, and he worked all the way across the country and ended up in St. Louis, Missouri. And that's where the Ibew was started.
In St. Louis, Missouri.
In St. Louis, Missouri, that's correct. It first started out as the National Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. Henry Miller did a lot for our organization, and without him we wouldn't be where we are today. So his last job he ever worked was with the Potomac Light and Power at Wisconsin and 36th Street. He was on a night shift job. After a storm, Henry was trying to restore some lights in an upscale part of town when he was shocked and fell 30 feet to the ground, but he didn't think much of it. He just had a sore back. So his brothers helped him up and took him back to his boarding house, and at 4 a.m. Henry Miller lost consciousness and died on July 10th, 1896 at the age of 43.
Wow. All right, so that's a piece of labor history I have to admit I didn't know, and I don't even know if my dad knew about it, but he certainly never mentioned Mr. Miller's name. But he was a very proud member of the IBEW, and I want to say that one of the things that my dad had impact on my life was that he was always so proud. We would drive around Minneapolis, and he would say, "I wired that." Now, of course, it would be a huge building. My dad did not wire it by himself, but he took a deal of pride in his work. I would like to ask both of you, and I'll ask actually Nick, one of the things about being a union member is, of course, that the quality of work and the work ethic, I'll put, that union members have, not particularly to their boss, but the safety of their coworkers, the ability of their coworkers to do their job well depends on you doing your job well. So I was wondering if you would want to comment a little bit about that kind of attitude that is part of being a union worker.
Okay, cool. All right, thanks.
Well, first off, IBEW Union Electricians, we are the best in the world. I mean, our guys go through a very rigorous 5-year apprenticeship program. We have one of, if not the top apprenticeship training centers in the country, located in North Atlanta. The thing about our guys is, on the job, we look out for each other. Everybody treats each other like family, and like Miss Diana said, you know, our work ethic is above all. Our safety is top notch. Internationally, nationwide, we have an international safety program. On a local level, Local 613, we have a safety director, and then it spreads down to every, you know, the 97 contractors that we represent has a safety director who represents the men there. So overall, I mean, we have, you know, the safest working environment, better working conditions as a whole.
Thanks. I think that's one of the things that we always stress here on the program about one of the key benefits of belonging to a union. Doesn't matter whether you're a housekeeper in a hotel or an EMT or anybody, that having a union contract always does have more protections for your safety besides wages and benefits. So I understand that both of you are full journeyman. That's the title, correct? When you've fulfilled it all. Could you talk a little bit about the kinds of jobs and the kinds of work that members of 613 do here in Metro Atlanta, either one of you?
All right, so we do all types of electrical work here in Atlanta. We're roughly 6,200 members in Atlanta, Georgia, with, like Nick said, with 97 contractors. Our apprentices, we have a 5-year apprenticeship school, and they go to school every other week. But we have done all of your large projects in Atlanta. We do powerhouses, industrial, commercial. We do college work at universities. Every signature project here in Atlanta that we have as landmarks, as all of Atlantans know, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, SunTrust Park, IBEW Local Union 613, Electricians, built all of those, all the way back to the Georgia Dome, Fulton County Stadium. We had our hand in all of that. So we can do it all, from running cable tray, conduit, rigid conduit, EMT, any type of electrical work you got, residential, that's what we're built on. We also have a manufacturing department where we represent manufacturers that build various components from lights to rewinding motors. So we have a very wide range of things that we do here in Atlanta at IBEW 613, and we are going to celebrate this year our 100th birthday.
Oh,
So
Wow, that place been around here since I was a child, so I've been noticing the buildings, like you said, from way back when we had Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. So.
yeah, thank you, Calvin. That's correct. So October of this year will be 100 years, and we'll be celebrating a big birthday. So we're proud. I don't know many businesses that can hang around 100 years and be successful as we have. So that's a little bit about us. We do all your electrical work.
so, so of course my dad was in a union, in an IBEW local in Minnesota. So how many union electricians roughly are represented by the IBEW in the U.S.?
We have about 800,000 plus members right now across the country. And what's so great about our brotherhood, as I was saying earlier, and talking about Henry Miller from Texas to St. Louis, from California to Florida, from Massachusetts to New Mexico. We cover it all. We have 850 local unions across the USA. There's 4,000 contractors that you can work for. They're roughly doing $160 billion worth of electrical work every year. So you can find the IBEW all across the country. So to answer your question, we have about 800,000 members, Diane, with 4,000 contractors.
All right, so we're going to get into the apprenticeship program in a minute. But I think one of the things that people might want to ask is, so my dad worked pretty much for one company. Is that how most union electricians, they're attached to one company, or is there like a hiring hall? How does it work?
Well, it depends on the individual, of course. As I said earlier, there's 850 local unions across the country that you can work in once you become a member of the IBEW. So it's truly on the individual's choice. If they decide to stay with one contractor, they can do that. If they want to see the country and make money, then they can move around and go to these different locals and work for different contractors. So the network's broad, and there's a lot of opportunity.
So if a new development was happening and contractors were needed, do they contact the union and say, we need so many electricians, or how does that work? How do you get connected to a job site?
So what you would do, basically, we have a list of contractors. A lot of our contractors have relationships with a bunch of GCs, so after the developers hit, you know, the GCs are letting on that, hey, we got these bids going
Now
out.
you know you're going to have to tell people what a GC is.
General contractors.
Yeah, great.
You know, the bids are going out, and our ECs, electrical contractors, will then bid on the work, and that's how.
And that's how the
snowballs.
connection's made.
Yep.
And then once the work is awarded to our EC, our electrical contractor, which we stated earlier, we have about 97 of them, they would then turn around and put in a labor requisition to our local union 613 and say, hey, I need 40 people, members to go to this job. I need 50 people, I need 10 people. So they put the requisition into us, and we fill those calls with certified journeyman wiremen that have been through all the training and put in top quality work.
And the good thing about us is, right now, Atlanta is seeing an economic boom. So it's, you know, across the country, skilled labor, we're having a major shortage. So the good thing about us is, if we're having trouble manning those calls, there's travelers coming in from all over the country. So we will man the work. There is no shortage of labor when it comes to hiring an IBEW electrician.
Well, you kind of just answered the question I was about to ask you. So if there's not enough workers here in Atlanta, y'all can just
Oh yeah,
the brotherhood is so big, y'all can just call in guys from all over the U.S. who might want to come to Atlanta. And,
we all carry and value what we call the yellow ticket in our pocket. Each one of us has a yellow copy. It's what it is a dues receipt. and we value that, and we carry it in our pocket. So that ticket will take us anywhere in this country and work for a negotiated wage. Anywhere in the country, we don't have to go negotiate a wage. It's set. We're gonna get, you know, Atlanta scale, whatever the scale, you know, city we go work in.
That's great. That's great.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a comment. And that has to do, you know, obviously when the IBEW was formed, the word was used, brotherhood, because most electricians, skilled workers, whether they were roofers or carpenters or bricklayers or whatever, were largely men. I'm gonna talk now and ask you about the number of women that have entered this skilled trade, if you know the number, either here locally or across the country. Does anybody know that answer?
Well, as far as an exact number, no, I couldn't give that to you, Diane. I know here in Atlanta we have, out of the 6,200, we have about 340 female journey wire women that are working out of Atlanta. I don't know the number nationwide, but it's a job, it's a career for anybody who doesn't mind hard work and has a lot of pride in what product they install, because that's what we're built on.
All right, because I think that's going to kind of lead us in a minute into this this really outreach that you're doing, that all of the building trades are doing, and why the program is here on WRFG. In large part, it's because of the very diverse audience we have. And so the idea, as I understand it from Randy Beal, is that just what Nick said, there is a shortage of skilled workers in all these fields. And there is a need for more people to replace those workers that are now approaching in their 50s and 60s and want to retire with all the great benefits that they're going to get. My mom always got part of my dad's IBEW pension. To fill those jobs. So if it's okay, we will start a little bit now into talking about this apprenticeship program and how it is and who it is that you're reaching out to fill the seats and become the union electricians of the next decade.
Diane, you mentioned earlier, you mentioned the word brotherhood. That's in our name, so I would be remiss if I didn't talk about how that is what makes us different. Our organization across the country, the camaraderie, the principles that we based our industry on, it's more of a family value type love, I guess you could call, because everybody watches each other's back. You get your brothers or sisters back, you're there for them. It's a team mentality. So through 2019 at 613, we're living the culture. It's easy, since brotherhood's in our name, to become desensitized to the word. So we're living the culture in Atlanta, and one of the things of living the culture is to have a life interrupted, to go out of the way for one of your apprentices or one of your brothers or sisters that's having trouble. So we're trying to push that, because that's what we're built on. We can't get away from that. The apprentices that are coming up are 54% of our membership at Local Union 613 is from the age of 20 to 30 years old.
Wow.
So the younger generation coming up is wanting to do what we're doing. So we're recruiting excellent minds, smart kids, people that are wanting to live these principles and these values out and be a part of something. This is not just a job. I mean, this is a career with people that you work around that really care for you. So, you know, we've got to have more of that in today's time. You know, I could tell you a story. The first time I went to work at 17 years old, I left my lunchbox at home. And, you know, as a kid coming out of high school and going and not knowing what to expect when you step foot on a construction job, it's kind of intimidating. So when we minimize that, then that's why they're wanting to take heed. Brothers on the job had me some breakfast that morning. I didn't know these guys, and they said, "Here, eat this." here's, you know, you forgot your lunchbox. Now, there was a little bit of razzing, because it is construction. So, and then the same thing for lunch. That $8 Subway meal that wireman bought me and showed me brotherhood meant a lot. And it's meaning a lot to these people, these kids that's coming in, and these men and women that's joining our ranks. So, that's part of it. They're seeing, they want to be a part of us, you know, because we are living the culture. And they're saying, hey, I want to be a part of that organization. So these apprentices, it's a 5-year training program. Now there's 2 different ways you can get into the IBEW. Of course, you can go to the apprenticeship school, and you can go through a 5-year program straight out of high school. The high school diploma, GED, and there's an entrance test. And then you score on that test, and they take applicants based on what you score, and then you get into the apprenticeship program. It's a 5-year program. You go to school 8 hours every other week, and it's an earn while you learn program. So our contractors that we talked about that we have a partnership with, the 97 of them, they're paying for the apprentices' tuition to go to school. Upon completion, you become a journeyman wireman, and you can make anywhere from $70,000 to $100,000 here in Atlanta. So there's also another program if you have experience and you didn't even graduate high school, but you've been doing electrical work for 5 or more years, you can come to the local union, and that's what we call a construction wireman or a construction electrician. So you bring your proof of service that you've worked from the Department of Labor, Social Security, you show that, we'll test you down there. You don't even have to have a high school diploma if you've had the experience and somebody gave you that opportunity and you went to work and you know the business. Right. So then you take that test, and what you score, we slot you, and then you again, during the CWCE program, you go to school at night. Okay, so you'll work all day, but then you go in the evenings. So that's the 2 ways that we're trying to grow and allowing these apprentices to come up and get involved with what we're doing, because we do have a labor shortage, and we realize that. So we're getting into high schools. If you have a local high school that you would like us to come to, we'll come down to the local high school. We're doing job fairs. There's various things that we're trying to do to recruit, and pretty much it's working out so far. Over the last 19 months, we have organized 539 new members. There's 1,000 apprentices, 978 apprentices right now that are enrolled with IBEW Local Union 613.
Okay, I still have a question about this, because you said earn while you learn. So can you explain and describe that a little bit? So that people go to school 8 hours a day for 1 week, and then they're on a job? Is that, okay, go ahead, tell me.
So basically how an apprenticeship works is you'll go to school 1 day a week, but it'll be every other week for 8 hours. And then the rest of that time they'll be working.
Only 1 day a week you go to school?
1 day,
oh,
but it's every other week.
Okay.
Yep.
1 day every 2 weeks essentially.
Yep, and you work full time the rest of the time. And then another thing to think about is books. That's the only thing that you really have to pay for is the books. But if you maintain a certain average, the books will be half price. But under Kenny's leadership, we've kind of taken a step further and set up a program that basically pays for all the book fees if the apprentice reaches a certain criteria. So.
All right. Okay, so how is it that people find out about the job fairs? Because that seems like that's the most public thing. Obviously, students in schools go to a class and their teacher, I don't know, it's career day or something like that, and you set up a table. But how is it that a person who's out there now, we're going to give contact information and a variety of other ways if you have more questions about this apprenticeship program. But if somebody would they see it in a newspaper, how would they find out?
You can visit IBEW613.org. That's our webpage. We are under construction this year. We got a new webpage coming, but you can always go there. It's got all the links to the apprenticeship school for the CWCE program. We have a Facebook page, IBW 613's Facebook page. You can look that up. There's information on there. We have an Instagram page. So all your social media, you can look and find IBW Local Union 613, and it has all the, it will direct you to us to where you need to go to get in and join our brotherhood and sisterhood.
And so that's ibew.org. .org.
613.
613. I knew I was missing something. So that's ibew613.org.
That's correct,
All
Kelly.
right, great.
I think Paul's got a question.
I have a question about how the difference between someone who graduates from high school and becomes an electrician in a non-union way, and the difference between someone who comes out of high school and joins the apprenticeship program. What will it look like further down the road in terms of what that one person knows compared to the other?
And their pay,
And their pay.
and their benefits.
Well, over their pay and their benefits, about $600,000 if they don't get right into the IBW out of high school. So over the duration, we have 3 pensions. We have a family health plan that allows the members, it's self-funded, to have insurance for their families. It's family coverage. It's just not for the participant. The wages, our wages are higher for a journeyman wireman. So you lose a lot of money if you hesitate and don't realize that union labor has been standing up for middle-class families in the IBEW since 1891.
Do you have any stories of people who started out this way and then switch over and they go, wow, I should have done this?
Yeah, we don't have enough time today on the air for that.
Well, tell one or two. It's not either of you, is it?
No.
But you know, I think a lot of people don't realize that unions are what gave us rights on these jobs and stuff.
Right.
If it weren't for unions, you know, these jobs could treat you any kind of way. And so unions are the strength of this country. So a lot of people don't realize that.
And I'm guessing from a contractor's point of view, if I want the job done right, I'm going to hire the people who I know are going to do it right. If I want to do it cheap, then I may end up paying workers' comp claims and things like that.
Usually it works out to where if they try to go cheap on the front end, we're coming in and you're going to have to spend more money for us to fix it. So that's the way I've seen that multiple times. We have to go in on jobs and correct the faulty wiring and things of that nature. So yeah, it costs the general contractor, and that's why we're growing market share in Atlanta. It's about a reputation, you know. Unions were always labeled as bad guys. We're not. We're good people. We stand up for middle class families. You know, we just want to be treated with dignity and respect when you go to work. So.
Well, I mean, that leads to the point that the union busting, anti-union right to work laws and what you said, all of the kind of information and just the vibe that people get from bosses and everything is that you don't need a union, you know. I'll treat you fair, says the boss to you, until he doesn't, and then you're out. And so, of course, people here in Georgia, the whole struggle of workers to get union representation is ongoing. There are many employers still who fire anybody who comes into their workplace and starts talking about rights and joining a union and trying to organize people together. But I think the strength and the value of belonging to a union is becoming more evident. I want to ask this question because the generation that is entering the workforce now, in my opinion, is one of the most beleaguered. The jobs that are available are in this so-called gig economy, where you have just thousands of people driving their own cars for one of these car services. You have people that are on the bicycles delivering food. You have folks in low-wage jobs of all different kinds at fast food places and all. And many of them are the children of working-class parents who got their kids into college with the thought that having that college degree would get them further ahead. But the loans, the debt, is keeping them literally imprisoned. I wonder if you want to talk about that at all with any experience of your own apprentices about what kind of work they were doing before they got into this program and how they've talked with you about the difference it makes to have the jobs that they're doing now. I think for these last minutes, it would really help our audience who's listening and us here in the studio to get some of those personal stories of your apprentices.
I had an apprentice come up and let me know that how much difference that Diane was talking about in delivering a sandwich and trying to make ends meet, and the joy and the pride that they have at the end of the day when they've just ran, you know, a rack of 4-inch conduit. They can see their worth. They can see an accomplishment that they're proud of that's going to be sold, and many people are going to come and see it. So one of the guys, the apprentices, told me at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, he ran an exposed piece of conduit. And he was so proud because when he started that and ran that conduit, it laid right in with the wall. You couldn't even tell. And he said every day when he started work, he was excited. He was ready to go. He said because at the end of the day, he could sit back and say, look, I just run 80 feet today. And he could see what he did, and it gives you a sense of pride to know, you know, you're not just delivering a sandwich. You're not just making a pizza. You know, you're actually getting out, and at the end of the day, you can see a product that you're proud of, that you've been trained, and you had to figure out how to bend it, how to make it work, and then you've installed it. So that's the kind of things you get out of it, and you know, a lot of people, it's different. They work off lifts, so that's exciting to them. So if you're 30 feet up in the air on a scissor lift trying to expose this conduit, it's got more worth to it, you know. I mean, you had to, you know, do everything right, follow all the safety protocol. But now when he takes his family in there, he can look at that conduit and he tells his kids, I run that conduit.
You know, that reminds me of what Diane was saying.
That's
Her dad was
my
saying.
dad.
He was saying, oh, I did that, and I did that, and I did that.
I wired that
Wow.
tower. I wired that shopping mall. There wasn't any place we couldn't go in Minneapolis that my dad wouldn't slow the car down and tell us what he done.
It's true. It's more than just a job. I mean, we take pride in what we do. You know, and I told that apprentice, I said, you know what you did? You didn't just run conduit at Mercedes-Benz. You built something where fathers and sons and mothers and daughters can go in the city of Atlanta and make memories forever.
Something that will last.
Something that will last. Something that's more than just a job. You're making memories for families around the metro Atlanta area.
And that also that helps the whole equation. You know, when you got a career, you get training, you get a career. Like you said, it's not just a job; it's a career with benefits that benefit not only you as an individual, but they benefit the community. And so I tell you what, man, y'all have paired up with us here at WRFG, and it's like a great.
Yeah, we appreciate the opportunity, and we really enjoy being able to come here. And it's amazing, and it feels so good to be a part of something where people and your brothers and sisters rejoice when you rejoice, and they hurt when you hurt. You're making a difference. We care about each other.
Yeah, that was a great story. You said when you first went to work, you were about 17, and the guys, they fed you, man. And that's what family does, you know. And that's why I said I consider you guys family now, just like my WRFG family. We about love and supporting each other, and encouraging each other, uplifting each other. And so that's what I've heard from you.
So Nick, how long have you been a union electrician?
I started in June of 1997, so I'm coming up on 22 years.
Wow, man, you don't even look the 22 years old.
Thank you, Kevin.
Wow, yeah, that's great.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the locations that you have worked on?
It's funny, we've a lot of data centers, hospitals. Kenny and I met, you know, like I talked about earlier, that yellow ticket in our pocket. It's funny, me and Kenny met 800 miles on the road. We were working in Steubenville, Ohio. Never met the guy before in my life. Been in the trade for 15 years, 12 years, whatever it was. Run into him on a coal burner powerhouse in Steubenville, Ohio, working on a scrubber project with about 400 other brothers. So it's just weird how you meet. I've met so many good people. Some of them are my best friends. I work with some of my best friends. I wouldn't trade it for nothing. It's been great for me and my family, my 2 little girls. It's always put food on my table. It's always paid the house bill. It's always paid the truck note. And it's always been there for me.
Welcome back to the final 6 or so minutes of the Labor Forum here on WRFG 89.3 FM. So today was our very first program in a series we're going to be doing on the 4th Monday of every month with one of the building trades unions that is here in Atlanta that offer apprenticeships to you, our listeners. So we want to go over in the last couple minutes one more time about how it is, if this is something that interests you. Today it's electricians, next month it'll be operating engineers. We're going to go through all of the trades. But if this is something that interests you, we're going to ask Kenny and Nick one more time to tell you how you can get involved in this project or program that will bring you a skill and a career that will make your life good.
So you can visit aejatc.org, aejatc.org, or you can call them at 404-523-5400. Their address is 6601 Bay Circle, Peachtree Corners, Georgia, 30071, 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Okay, so besides that, a person out there says, wow, this might be what I'm interested in. Let's go over one more time exactly what's involved, the test, what's on the test, when does school start, can you start now, what's the deal?
So once you go in person, you fill out, you submit your application, you take your test, they'll give you a test date. The test is, you need to be proficient in algebra, and it has reading comprehension on it. But don't let that scare you away, because if you don't pass the first time, you can come back and take the test again 6 months later. So we have study guides that can help you bring you up to speed on your Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, anything to do with algebra, and then your reading comprehension. So visit them, like I said, at Atlanta Electrical Joint Apprenticeship Training Committee, aejatc.org.
Okay, let me ask you a question, Randy. So now, could I possibly get a study guide before I take the test, so that I can kind of get myself prepared to take the test? Is that?
No, we don't have any study guides available,
Okay.
but you can go in person to the apprenticeship training facility and talk with them, and they can give you sort of a rundown, some example problems. But no, there's nowhere you can go and get any study stuff. It's just algebra and reading comprehension.
And how often do the classes start?
The classes start in the fall and in the spring. So you can go ahead and fill out and go join the apprenticeship and start your OJT, what we talked about earlier, your on-the-job training.
Right.
And you can go ahead and go to work while you're waiting to get in school.
Wow. So that would probably be helpful too, by going on ahead and starting getting your hands on.
That's correct. You can go ahead and earn while you're waiting to learn.
That's great.
And we should be doing a better job of getting the word out to high school students who may be graduating in the spring, that this is a next step for some people could make.
That's correct. I agree.
Yeah, that's great because you went right out of high school, right?
I did. I went right out of high school in 1996.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, one more time on if people want to know more about the IBEW. I looked real quickly. There's the national IBEW.org, IBEW.org, and then IBEW 613.
Yes, 613 is the local union here in Atlanta, Georgia. And the national's in Washington, D.C. The international office is in Washington, D.C. But yeah, if you live within this broadcast area, you want to come see us over at 501 Pulliam Street, Southwest Atlanta, Suite 250, zip code 30312.
Right, so I want to thank,
Yeah.
first I want to thank Randy Beal for helping to set this up,
Okay.
and then Kenny Mullins and Nick Casco for being here in the studio today. We will be back again next Monday with another program of the Labor Forum here at WRFG 89.3 FM. Take care, y'all.
All right, thanks.